Once you get the nut loose, go ahead and take it off. Now, getting these back plates off the first time is going to be a bear. Now you're going to notice when I pull this off, I can actually pull it off with my fingers, but what I did to get them off was take 2 large screwdrivers, one on either side, and I don't pull like towards you, I push and get down in there, and you can work that off. Now, coming off the first time, it is not going to be a friendly process, but you will be able to get them off. Now, once you get those off, I'd mentioned earlier that I was going to index these to know where they were at, but there happens to be a keyed slot in here, as well as a roll pin or a split pin that has been driven back in here. I don't know if you can see that, but it is in fact there. So in terms of referencing where they were, they're only going to go in one spot. Now what you're going to want to do, because we are going to be setting these parts aside, is I've just taken a little Sharpie and marked L here for the left hand side. Now that's left hand side from the front of the grinder. So once you get those off, I've already removed everything off the other side to keep things simple and short. You're going to find 4 10mm bolts that hold this casting on here, this guard, which in turn is what holds the tables. So you'll take those out, and I have one still in here just holding it up. And they're quite long. Okay, once you get all 4 of those out, the guard will come off in your hand. Now, I'd mentioned earlier that this particular casting had a lot of paint in this area. I did clean that off, and it did make a world of difference in terms of how the tables operate. To do that quickly, I tried a Dremel. I couldn't really scratch it, so I drove these 2 guide pins out from the back with a pin punch, took off the indicator slide here to indicate where your table is in relation to 0, and just hit those with a wire brush and knock those off. Now these also had some roughness around the casting, so I hit that with some sandpaper, cleaned those up, light coat of 3-in-1, that's all it took. Works beautifully. So once you get down into this area, now we're looking at the left hand side of the grinder, you're going to notice that there's 4 8mm bolts on this end. They're not on the other side. So what we're going to do is take this whole shaft out of here. And there are 4 Phillips head screws on this particular end. I already have one of them out. It looks like I need to go ahead and pull a couple more. I intended on only leaving one in there. Now these are rather tight. I guess I left 3 in there. These are rather tight, so my particular screwdriver has a hex right here on the end where you can actually put a wrench on to help you around. So I applied a lot of pressure on it and then turned it off with a wrench. I apologize for this part. Okay. Now once you get those 4 bolts out, you're going to take a soft hammer and you're going to hit the shaft on the opposite end while holding here, and this whole assembly is going to come out. Now you can go ahead and take these out if you wish, or take them out after the fact. It might be just as easy to take them out right now. There's a bearing retaining ring, which is what these bolts are screwed into, that prevents the shaft from running side to side. Now before you take this out, I just wanted to mention, you want to go ahead and take a Sharpie and mark your bottom so you can make sure you get this cast oriented in the same direction in which it came off. I just put an L down here, and the L itself indicating that it was the bottom, as well as the left hand side of the grinder from the front. So I'm going to go ahead and knock this out of here, and it doesn't take too much, and there we go. Now I have the shaft in the hand, and I also had loosened that just enough to where I could get that casting off and set it aside. Okay, here we have the motor shaft laid out, fresh out of the motor. And what you want to do is just take these bushings here and just make an indicator mark with a Sharpie somewhere, you know, to where you can turn it and get it in the center of this particular drive pin. And what that's going to do is allow us to get everything back in the same orientation, because after we turn it on the lathe, unfortunately we have to take it back apart in order to put the motor back together. So I've already made my mark, so I'm just going to line it up there. I'm going to take one of my back plates, put it in place, tighten it up with the nut, do the same on the other side. Index the mark I've already made, insert the back plate, put it on the lathe. Now you're going to want to use a tool similar to the one I showed you that I made, so you can go ahead and lock these down as they're going to be at their final torque. So from now, what we're going to do is mount this on centers in between the lathe centers, and I'm going to face off this area. I'm going to return the rough casting here. I'm going to turn it around, do the same thing on the other side, and that's going to ensure that this front surfaces and the back surfaces run true. I'm also going to take a final pass across here to ensure that these have no run out around their diameter, and that they are also the same diameter. So let's set up on the lathe. I'm going to show you a quick video of that. I'm not going to show you the actual operation of the turning. That is for another video. I went ahead and cut these already, as you can see, but this particular angle here that I used, it comes off and then it runs down this way. That's actually a 10-degree angle that I set my compound rest to, and I use the compound to make that particular taper cut. Okay, here we are at the lathe with the shaft mounted as it's going to be turned. I just wanted to give you guys an idea on what the general setup here I am using. I have the shaft mounted, I have both back plates installed, they are tightened up. That'll ensure everything is on the shaft where it needs to be once it's replaced. I have also indexed the spacers that are here and here, and once these are removed to put the motor back together, that'll ensure I get them in the same spot as well. So what I have here is I have it mounted up in the lathe in between centers, being driven by a dog and a plate. And just to give you an idea on where we're at here, I don't know if this will register, but this is after turning them on a work arbor, and I still have about 5/1000ths run out in this particular face right here. Now I haven't checked the other one, so what I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to turn down the face where the stone sits. I'm going to go ahead and come to the back, and I'm going to true up the back of the back plate, as well as cut this little section here. And at that point I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to do the same operation on the other end. Now once I get those two operations completed, I'm going to come back and just turn this down without moving the compound rest or cross slide. I'm going to come straight across and hit both of these, and that'll ensure both wheels are the same diameter.